Hello, guys. Welcome to Into Boxing. This is Melissa Zad, and I am absolutely delighted to be joined by none other than Mr. Craig Richards. How are we doing tonight?
Come on. I'm good. I'm good. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm all right. It's very warm today. I'm really feeling it.
Yeah, that's what I thought about us, how you are as well, because the weather's, not great. And some people are suffering, like myself, with hay fever.
Yeah. I mean, I read something today that said that today it was actually hotter than it is in Jamaica.
Serious?
Yeah.
I'm in the right country today then.
Yeah, I thought of you when I read that. I was like, oh, Craig, if he was back home, he'd be cooler than he is now in London.
That's cheeky. I'm going to take a racial slur slightly. I'm joking. I'm joking. You're right. You're right.
Wait, you are Jamaican, right?
Of course I am.
Well, there we go then.
Number one.
So anyway, it's really, really great to catch up with you. The last we spoke to you was during the fight week, leading up to your fight with Josh Buatsi. How have you been spending your time between that fight and now?
Usual ticking over, training. Um, yeah, just reflecting, training, and that's about it really. Same as usual.
We've seen on your social media that you've been out there in the wild chopping shit down. Tell us about it.
Oh, I gotta take it back, I gotta take it back. I feel like every time I'm in a close fight, I won't get the nod. So now I just think if I just take matters out of their hands and get people out of their old school methods. I see George Foreman doing it, so that's what I want now. And he used to knock a lot of people out, so that's where I'm trying to go with this.
Do you know what? It's quite interesting you say that because you do sort of, in some ways, remind me of like a throwback fighter. You know, the fact that you're kind of like, I'll face anyone, I'll take on any challenges. You do remind me of a throwback fighter because you have that mentality, that grit. So now you're just adding to that repertoire.
TVP. Come on, that's what I'm saying. And look, I think like I get told a lot of the times it's not I'm like a TBT fighter, and I think there's not a lot of fighters like that. They don't like stepping up, taking risks, taking challenges. But me, I don't mind. I love the fight game. That's why I'm in it. The bigger the challenge, the more excited I get for it. So if people say he's the guy, like let him get in there with me. Let's see, let's mix it up. And I like to be involved with exciting fights, especially when people say he's dangerous. The more they mention someone's dangerous, the more I want to get up for that challenge. The more I would like that guy.
I mean, in all fairness to you, like your last couple of fights. No, not your last couple. Well, yeah, even your last couple, but your last three fights or so, they've just been like very, very exciting fights for you to be involved in. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of hype around them. And something that always stands out to me when I see you during fight weeks is just like you have a really, really, really positive energy about you and also like a real focus. Where does that come from?
Within me, probably it's just like my mentality, just how I am.
Mm.
Fight week comes, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm zoned in. I understand how the task at hand, a heavy task. Like I'm never fighting the guy from Latvia who's going to go down with a jab or something. I know I've always got a good operator in front of me, so I'm focused, zoned in, concentrating on everything I've learned in camp, and I'm also excited at the same time because we're finally on fight week and the grueling camp's over and the exciting part's here. So that's the reason why it probably comes across the two mixed emotions.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that does make sense. So you mentioned that since your fight with Josh, you have been taking over and you've been reflecting. What have you been reflecting about?
Basically, I just got to get them out of there. I can't leave it to chances anymore. Sometimes you feel that, yeah, the final bell goes, you think, yeah, I think I've done enough. Then you hear the scorecards, and it's objective boxing, isn't it? So it just depends on what they're looking for. Maybe that day you've not done what they're looking for, and then you're just like, tick the wrong box again. So there's only one way to never tick the wrong box, and that's to take matters out of the judge's hands.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, like it is kind of dependent on what they're looking for on the day. But let's talk about your fight with Joshua Buatsi. Firstly, I mean, I think it's fair to say it was just a cracking fight from start to finish. Like the whole arena was just buzzing, pumping.
Yeah.
So you guys definitely gave the British boxing fans well, boxing fans in general, but particularly British ones, you know, what they were looking for in that fight. So let's run it back from start to finish, sorry. So obviously we had the 2 ring walks.
Yes.
There was, on the day of the weigh-in, there was a coin toss for who would walk out first, right?
Yeah. Well, there was meant to be, but we kind of agreed it before the coin toss that I was going to walk second. Then we had a coin toss for home corner.
Ah, okay.
Uh,
And you won that coin toss.
and I won that coin toss.
Yeah. Coin toss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coin toss. So yeah, so you won that, and you were walking out second. And all I remember it so vividly. Josh came out to some like really ethereal, like Ghanaian music, and then your walk started, and you started with a song that I was kind of like, huh, that's an odd choice. Which song was it?
Forever Young.
Forever Young, that's it, that's the one. And then it just dropped. And what did it drop into?
Salute Who Them by Capleton. It was yeah, it's a old school traditional, if you know, no kind of song. It was a good song. I liked it. I've always liked that song. But I always felt like sometimes maybe for the occasions wouldn't have been too fitting. But I felt like this was the right occasion. So I took it out of the archives and mixed it in. And I kind of started Forever Young because I felt like it will give it the element of surprise as well. You know, and I thought also if you don't like that song, I'll give you 10, 15 seconds of something you probably might like if that's not your thing. And we'll mix it too. Cater for everyone.
Oh my God, when that song dropped, yeah, and you came down, the whole place was like on its feet. Like the atmosphere was insane. It was
Yeah.
absolutely insane. I just remember you going past me and you were bouncing down the, let's call it, what is it, the walkway, the runway, I guess.
I'll call it the walkway.
Okay, yeah.
Well, the way I was moving, it was like the runway.
Exactly. You're about to take off, man.
I was
It was
off.
insane. What was going through your mind in that moment?
Like, obviously, when the song mixed and dropped, and I saw everyone erupt the way they erupted, the energy kind of took me. Like, everyone's energy bounced off me. So, like, it went, I could feel everyone was getting excited, everyone was jumping around, the energy just went through the roof. And it took me. I kind of forgot of just taking how I usually do, take my time doing the ring walk. My hood come off, I let that blow, my jacket's blowing in the wind. I was just heading for the ring at this point. I was just like taken by the occasion. But the fans or supporters, whichever way you want to call them, everyone was tremendous in there. They really like brought the atmosphere. Like it was sick.
It really, really was like, yeah, it was a perfect way, I think, to start that kind of fight.
Yeah.
So, you know, let's talk about the fight itself. How did you feel you did throughout the rounds?
Yeah, it was good. Like the comments were someone, I don't know, obviously, I don't know why, since the Bivol fight everyone mentions, which obviously I started a bit slow on the Bivol fight. People started keeping that agenda up. He always starts slow, but I don't know why, because you look at other fights, it's fights I'm dropping people and stopping people within 1, 2, or 3 rounds. So I don't know where this agenda's come. But going back, people spoke about me starting slow in this fight. But if you notice from round one, I actually took control of round one from the off. And in the last 15 to 10 seconds, Josh started going and started putting his hands together. I got on my Mayweather stuff, shoulder and countering and defensive stuff. But Josh started bringing it towards the last back in 10, 15 seconds of round one. So I felt I took the majority of round one. And I think then two was quite close. Could have went to him, could have went to me. I'm not too sure. I can't remember scoring it round by round. Then I think I took control of three. Then I think he might have took control of four. And then he started fast on five, but then I took over from after 20 seconds for the rest of five. So I felt we was in the balance going in from the first 4 or 5 rounds that we was kind of in a balance. I could have took a couple was close. I won some, he won some. Yeah, that's how I look at probably the first five. I can't remember identically even what 6 or 7 happened, but yeah, that's kind of where I remember. I only took notice of that because I heard someone mention the start in the slow point, so I just looked over the first early rounds and I was like, yeah, BS, wiped out the window and moved.
So going back to what you said about comments about how you start slowly, do you
Mm.
think that that is a narrative, or do you feel that the reason that's been said is based off of your, well, firstly, the fact that you've got like a stupendous engine, like, you know, everyone knows you're extremely fit, you live the lifestyle, etc. So because of your engine, it's quite clear you don't really tire in the later rounds. And I wonder if that's
Yeah,
got something to do with why people say that you start slow, or do you think it has more to do with the fact that they're looking at maybe your performance with Bivol, where you kind of were like keeping it around the same gears throughout
yeah.
those different
I
rounds?
think I think based off the Bivol fight, because in my output in the from 6 to 12 was a lot heavier, and I threw a lot more in the back end of the Bivol fight. Which when Bivol started fading down the stretch, I think from I'm not sure 9 till 10 to 11 and 12, we could saw he got quite tired where the fight where our foot pressure was on each other constantly. He started fading a bit down. It was one of them fights that you're always thinking, and people don't understand what that takes out of your thinking game. Because if you notice that once he worked out Canelo, how strong he finished in the 12th when he boxed Joe Smith, how strong he finished in the 12th. Sullivan Barrera, he stopped him in the 12th, etc., etc. He finishes very strong, but in this kind of fight, he's used to people just trying to put their hands up and coming to attack him, which he's used to all day long. He's had what, like 285 amateur fights or something like that. He's seen it all, and I feel like when you're playing a chess match and a thinking game for him, he's having to concentrate constantly for them minutes. That's what tired him out. But for me, I can do that and get stronger and stronger and stronger. So when people see me in a intense fight like that and getting stronger and stronger and stronger, they're like, well, if you finish so thick, you can see at the end of the 12th, with Bivol had so much more gears to go. If you had started a bit earlier with that much engine left, that would have been an easy win. So I get the narrative there, completely understand. If you started a round or two earlier, obviously I come 1 round short, half a round short on the judges' scorecard. All I need to change it by 1 round in the Bivol fight. That would have been my fight. And so I get the narrative. You just had to start 1 round earlier. It's like, okay, I get it. You started a bit slower than you could have. I totally understand that feedback, and that's acceptable. Obviously, there's pros and cons to doing that because he's sharper at the time. He can get caught or whatever, whatever. But just on the basic narrative, I get it. But then we moved on to the Matea fight, which obviously I dominated every round and stopped him in the 5th or 6th. It was a joke when I looked at it back and someone's scorecard actually had me losing that fight until the stoppage. And I
What?
was like, yeah, I was down on the cards, on the commentators' cards. I was down. Like, one of the officials told me and was laughing about it, and I was laughing. I said, no, you must have got it wrong. He said, I'm laughing. I'm telling you the truth. I heard the commentator had you down. So we was laughing. I thought, I wonder who that was. Obviously, it was Tony Belly when I went home. I looked at it, but that was another situation. I just laughed at it. But yet again, it was the narrative was starting slow and I dominated from the off from round 1. So this is what I'm saying. And the narrative gets a bit silly sometimes. So now it's become a narrative when, okay, the Bivol fight was acceptable, but the Matteo everyone saw I dominated from round 1. Yeah, I started slow. Same thing with Buatsi fights. It's just going to be a narrative they're going to push on every fight now. And this is where it gets silly.
I wonder why they do it. Like, do they do it because they're just looking for like filler statements? So like, oh yeah, you know, like Craig Richards starts. I don't know. I'm just trying to get my head around the mentality. Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense why that would be the
I,
narrative.
I think sometimes, like, it's just sometimes being a bit too clever. Sometimes, like, I do like the way people do their job. No criticism to anyone. Everyone does their job differently and they do their job well. But sometimes, if you remember back in the day when you're watching the Jim Watts, etc., they just commentate on the fight. They're just commentating on the fight. They just like, oh, good shot here. He's hurt by the right hand. Oh, he's throwing good. Like, it's just excitement of the. If you switch off the TV, the excitement from the commentators gives you a picture of what's going on in that moment. Nowadays, there's too much. Oh, he stats in one fight, he done this, and I remember one time he done this in this fight, and there's too much stat stuff going on, and they're not commentating on the fight. And I think this is where we start ending up in these weird case scenarios. You're talking about things what's not making sense right now because you're relating to another fight, what's not happening to now. The narrative somehow from that fight pushed onto this fight. I think we need to stay in a moment sometimes, and doing that also gives fans who question their knowledge of boxing an opinion on things they're not too sure about because they're saying, well, he said it, he's meant
So
to be an
true.
expert. So I'm just going to go with what he says. And if he says he won that round, he must have won that round because he's an expert.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it's just what you do. So as I say, like when people say to me, 90 loads of people come up to me like, oh, I thought you won these rounds and done this, but I'd have to watch it back. But it's like because they're unsure about what they've seen because they don't feel their eyes are trained.
Yeah.
But so it's like you start questioning yourself. But at the end of the day, I think like sometimes you just got to go with what you know. I'm sure if it's not your first boxing fight you've ever seen, you kind of know what you're looking for. And this narratives get pushed is what sway people's opinion. So as people ring me, like when I watch your fights without the commentary, it looks so different. I have a different perspective when I watch it with the sound on. It's just, and it's like, yeah, it
Yeah.
just doesn't match up to what is going on.
And
And that's frustrating.
the other thing is like what you've done in your previous fights, like to a certain degree, it's irrelevant because you could have been having a bad day, you could have been having a great day. Like it's not, boxing is not like it's not reflective of a person's boxing style, how they perform on the one day. Like, as you know, you're going to the gym some days, you have a great spar, and you're like, oh
Yeah,
my God, like I'm the next
feeling
star in
unbelievable.
boxing. And then some days
Yeah,
you go into the ring and you have a terrible spar and you're just kind of like, why am I doing this? Right. So
yeah,
I just feel that always reflecting on things that have happened in the past can be quite unhelpful because it's like, but right now is what's important.
look, I don't even know. That's exactly correct. It's like, for example, when I moved up to first light heavyweight, yeah, my first 4 fights, I knocked them all out within 3 rounds. It was over 2 rounds, 3 rounds, whatever. So it shouldn't be the narrative he can start fast. But no, that's dismissed. You pick the narrative of what you want. So based off the Bivol fight now, he starts slow. So you're gonna pick the ones you wanna pick, put it together and build a case. Do you get what I'm saying? So you're swaying people's opinions unnecessarily. Let people watch the fight, commentate on this fight, and let people have an opinion of what they can see right now. Simple.
Totally agree with you. Yeah, totally agree. Okay, going back to the fight itself, because obviously we got to round 4 or 5, and then not to sound like the narrative, but you did step it up through the gears in I think it was like the 6th or 7th, and you had Josh kind of hurt actually in there.
Yeah,
Talk us through
yeah.
those middle rounds.
Um, obviously I was following instructions in the middle rounds, just like box, do this, do that, follow instructions. At
Yeah.
times I felt like I wanted to get my feet a bit wet. I wanted to get in, but at the time I was following instructions and just listening because obviously they know best. And I think we got to round 7 or 8. I think it was 8. And I thought, I'm going to go in to get my feet wet here. No, I shouldn't, but I'm going to go get my feet wet. And I think that's the round that I hurt him. Um, and he done very well, to be fair. He showed heart, he showed grit. Like when he was hurt, he knew how to hold, he knew how to thingy, he knew how to try and defense, he knew how to fire back. Yeah, it was true. He done very well. It was very good. He showed experience in there when he was hurt to not let me get him out of there, which I was surprised to be fair. I thought this is the moment, but I waited for that moment. It came. I thought, yeah, now it's time to finish the job. But he done well. Showed tremendous heart, good chin, and he was firing back. So yeah, it was good. It was a good fight.
I remember there was one specific moment and I didn't know if I caught it right or if I had seen it or like if what I had seen was real, but I swear I saw his gum shield come out, like fly out after a shot. Uh,
Yeah,
immediately, and I was really impressed by this. When that shot landed and the gum shield came out, you can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but from my angle, that's what I thought I saw. He just returned fire like immediately. And
yeah,
I thought,
100%.
wow.
He did. He did. Literally, like as soon as I took that stop, as soon as I threw the shot, the gum shield came out and I stopped. He threw 1,000 shots straight after until the
Yeah.
ref actually said stop, which was great because you don't stop action until the ref actually says stop. So that was good of him to carry on firing until the ref actually says stop,
Oh,
stop the
yeah.
action. So yeah, it was smart. It was clever.
It was clever, yeah. Okay, so yeah, we got through obviously to the final bell. No one has taken Joshua Buatsi to the final bell before. So that was, I'm correct in saying that, right?
Yeah, I think early in his career, 2 journeymen, like early on 4 or 6 rounders, 2 of them. Um, But yeah, any serious fight, any title fight, any competitive fight, he's never been to distance before.
Yeah, he's never been.
He's never been 12 rounds before.
Yeah, he's never
I
been
think
12 rounds.
the first guy who took him the longest was Bologna, but he knocked him out, I think, in the 11th.
11th it
So
was.
he's never been the distance in a title fight ever.
Yeah. So we get to the final bell, and you guys are there. You're waiting for the scorecards to be read. What was going through your mind in that moment?
I think I've done enough. Yeah, I feel like I think I've got this. I was thinking, I felt like, I was thinking, I was reflecting back, and I was like, he was good in spurts, but I thought I was busier throughout the rounds. I finished strong back in the fight. I finished stronger. So I was thinking, I must have. I think I've got this. I thought it was a hell of a fight, though. I was sitting there thinking, hell of a fight. I enjoyed that. But I was thinking, I think I've done enough.
And then when the scorecards were read, and it came back with a unanimous decision victory for Joshua Buatsi, what went through your head at that time?
I just thought, I said, I must have, I don't know what's going on. I just thought, I don't know. I thought I got it, but I said, I guess it's objective, innit? Guess it's objective. Obviously, it was one of them fights because, as you saw immediately after, when we done the interviews, a few of them, Buatsi, Groves, all of them, like the ringside. Some of them had me up one round, some had it a draw. Obviously, the judges and certain others had him up one round. So it's probably just objective. I thought must have been objective. They asked me what I felt afterwards. I said I felt I'd done enough. Buatsi, and I remember a few of them said, "Look, we had you up one round." I said, "Okay, well, that's how I felt it went." But I said, obviously, I'm in the fight, so I don't really know. But it was a good fight. It was competitive, and it was just it was a good, solid scrap. And I guess it must be hard to score with a few of the rounds maybe being close or just of what you liked. Obviously throughout certain rounds, I'm obviously landing more probably, but when he's then letting his hands go, it's a little bit eye catching for the moments he is throwing them. So that's how I kind of reflected of it.
So obviously, speaking to a lot of boxers, what happens is win or lose or draw, they go back and they rewatch their fights, because as you say, in that moment you're just there, you're in the fight itself. Have you had the opportunity to rewatch the fight?
Yeah, I watched it back.
And what did you make of it?
I kind of felt like how I felt after the fight, but at the end of the day, it was a close fight. It was objective in it of what you liked. As I said, I felt at the time, and watching it back, I did feel I did enough. But like, it was a good fight. It was competitive, and it was close. He had good moments. Obviously, I had good moments. As I said, when I'm watching it back as just a boxing fan, or you could see obviously I'm landing the majority of the shots or being busy throughout the whole round. But when he did come into play, he had an eye-catching moment. So that's why I say sometimes it's like, what do you like? What in that sense? But yeah, I wouldn't cry and complain. It was a good fight. As long as everyone enjoyed it, we move.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for Craig Richards? Obviously, you've been back in the gym, you're taking over. I saw today you were at the gym in this heat. Dedication.
Yes, always working, we working. Come on.
Um,
We're looking at a big fight in the next few months. Looking to get a good name, good solid big name. In the meantime, I know probably like the Buatsis, the Bivols, they're probably going to be tied up for maybe a championship fight. And I'm just looking to be waiting for an opportunity after that with them sort of fights. So I need to make sure that I have a big fight to put myself back straight in the mix for the opportunities for them sort of fights to be made sooner rather than later.
So who's on the hit list, Craig?
I don't have a hit list. You know me. They say this is the guy. This is the guy you got to get in there with. I just say, okay, how much? Let's go.
Do you know what? I fully tried it. Yeah, I was like, if I throw this question out casually, maybe you're a sharp tool.
I definitely am. That's how I get through life.
Okay, so you're looking for like a big fight, get yourself back in the mix, and then move on to a championship fight following that.
Yeah, the aim and the goal is still staying the same. Obviously, there's probably a fight delay now or so. Joshua will be obviously next up for the world title shot now. but I'm looking to be following just right behind on that now. So he'll have his go, and I'm looking to have my go. The aim stays the same. I still can't leave this sport without being world champion. And you know what? Now I feel like I should even be unified champion. Now I've waited so long, I'm gonna make it worth it. So yeah, the goal I would say remains the same, but maybe it's increased.
I like it. I like it. To be honest, you know, a lot of people, a lot of boxers that I've spoken to recently, they're kind of all got this air of like one world title isn't enough anymore. I want to get two or more than that. So, you know, I think it's like trending or some shit. But
We don't want to run before we can walk. If I got one more title and it was a big fight and I left my career, I wouldn't be like completely disappointed.
no,
I
you
would, as
shouldn't be
long as I
disappointed
achieve
at
my
all.
goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, as long as I leave this sport with reaching my goals, I'm happy.
Yeah. And you deserve to as well. Like you fight some really solid names and you're always putting yourself out there. So you deserve that for sure.
Appreciate that.
Course, course.
Come on.
So in terms of some of the light heavyweights that you would like to face down the line, who are we talking?
I wouldn't really like. I don't focus too much on the names. It's about the belts. Right now, Bivol's got the belt. Right now, obviously, there's unifications going on, but I feel like the road with where I'm at with Matchroom and Hearn, he's more of a WBA route. You know, if you're with Warren, he more takes you down the WBO route. So for me, I've got to really focus on the WBA route. Which right now, the man at question is Bivol. For example, if Buatsi won, then obviously it would be the question would be of Buatsi. And they're kind of as far as I can look. I'm not too far behind. I'm in touching distance, so I've just got to focus on what's going on right now. And they're the guys right now who I could be looking at an opportunity against.
So in terms of Bivol, actually, I'm glad you brought him up. You know, we saw him against Canelo and he put on a masterclass. He really did, like, absolutely neutralize what Canelo has in his arsenal. Obviously, there's been lots of talk since that fight, like, oh, was it really a good idea for Canelo to go up to light heavyweight? You know, he's not invincible at the end of the day. But Canelo is obviously going to take on Triple G next and then look for the rematch against Bivol. How do you see that rematch going?
I don't know if he'll take on the rematch straight away, if I'm honest. I believe that he's still talking about a London shutdown end of the year. So with someone from London, so I believe he'll probably take the Triple G, maybe a London shutdown, and reassess himself. Maybe his London shutdown, maybe a light heavyweight to see if it is the weight he was struggling with, or is it actual just to meet you Bivol, because he's been at light heavyweight and he got the stoppage against Canelo. Obviously, it wasn't a prime Kovalev, but obviously it wasn't a prime Kovalev. And now he stepped up against a serious operator in his prime and he's come short. So
sorry, had a little technical glitch, but back in the game now.
yeah, well, yeah, you sort that out, technical difficulties.
Yeah, so go on, as you were saying.
Yeah, what was I? Oh, yeah, I was just saying that people were saying about like basically it's not giving credit to Bivol because Canelo's been up to light heavyweight and he's obviously got the stoppage before. Obviously not a prime Kovalev, but now he's come up to a prime good operator in Bivol. He's come short, and maybe now people question: is it the weight or is it just the guy he fought? And I think maybe he might come December and decide to fight a light heavyweight, a different opposition to see if it is the weight or is it just that Bivol was just too good for him.
Interesting. Would you take it on?
Yeah, 100%. You know me, I don't duck and dodge nobody.
That would be an absolutely wicked fight.
Yeah, I would look forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What do you think Canelo would have to do in order to beat Bivol?
The first thing his footwork would have to change. And that's the thing I said he'd struggle with in the first place. If you haven't got good footwork with Bivol, you're out the question straight away. And you can't just load up shots with him. He's very clever. He'll keep his shape. And he's got very good discipline in that ring. So he won't be rustled very easy.
Good advice.
So there'll be
Spider itself.
Come on, maybe I should coach him for the second one.
I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, well, last question from me, and not to do with the light heavyweight division. but actually to do with the heavyweight division. So,
Oh,
you know, we're coming up to the Anthony Joshua Usyk rematch. What's your predictions?
I'm gonna say a brave prediction, but I'm gonna go for an AJ stoppage. I know I'm different from everyone else. I know everyone else is gonna look at me like I'm smoking or on the heavier stuff, but I believe he can do it. I believe he's been focused. He's a big man. I think he went in for the first fight with the wrong game plan. And I believe that he can rectify that in the second one with the right game plan. And he's still the same size and have been knocking loads of people out for his whole career. And I think people are quick to make a judgment off a bad performance or two. And he's still the same man who was doing and delivering the job a few fights ago. And I believe he's still waiting him. And he's going to be hungrier than ever.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you in the fact that people are very quick to change their opinions on their boxers of choice, you know, depending on like their last performance. Like it's a fickle industry, as you know.
Very fickle.
Yeah.
I just think he went in with the wrong game plan in the first fight, and I think he just wanted to show I can outbox him. I believe if you watch Usyk against Chisora and stuff, when he imposed his size, Usyk struggled, and AJ is a lot better boxer, more explosive, quicker hands, more rangy, and a bigger puncher than Chisora. So I think that if he imposed all these assets, was fit, I think he would give Usyk a lot of trouble.
Interesting. Well, I look forward to catching up with you post rematch and seeing if your predictions have come to truth.
Boxing is all about on the night. I just hope so.
Craig, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know
No
the
problem.
hay fever and the weather.
Killed me. I'm out here looking like I got rushed. I'm hurting right now. But you know, I agreed to this, so I just had to firm it and let everyone just see me suffer on camera.
A man of your word, which we
I'm
really
out of my
appreciate.
word. Come on. Your word, you're nothing without your word.
That's true. That's so true. That's so true. Well, I look forward to catching up with you, you know, in the near future.
Yes, looking forward to catching up with you.
Take care.